The title of my presentation is Beyond Business as Usual, which was inspired by a UK initiative that I'll talk a little bit about later. And I'm going to focus on ensuring accountable and effective public health food industry partnerships to promote healthy food and active living environments for children. So I know this is a very sophisticated audience, but public-private partnerships and voluntary engagement may be new to a lot of you. So I'm going to breeze through just a few definitions before I get to the meat of my presentation. Reasons for partnering, some of the roles for the food industry, and who actually is the food industry. It's a very diverse group of actors. What do we really mean by healthy food and active living environments? Just so we're all operating from the same page, types of voluntary engagement, and also I'm going to propose some principles for public, private, and non-governmental organizations sector engagement. And then I'm going to move into what do we mean by accountability and how do we really think about it. I'll give you a really easy 4-step process that if someone wakes you up at 2 o'clock in the morning, you'll remember this. And then we're going to move to international, some US examples, and we'll wrap up with priority issues for our WJF teams. So reasons for partnering, there's first, address an unmet need, to focus on specific under-resourced priorities, and also to create synergy, to add value to efforts that will promote healthy food and active living environments for kids. And what we mean by synergy is you have multiple partners coming together, could be business, could be NGO, could be government, but it's the degree to which each partner combines the assets of each other to pursue collaborative solutions to address obesity and diet-related non-communicable diseases. Now, the food industry does a lot of great things. Hank mentioned a few of those. I'm just going to reiterate that they're out there to develop and market products, but they create jobs, and that comes with insurance and benefits to employees and families, and children benefit from that. They also have a tremendous consumer reach, and they bring diverse resources, expertise, and technology to partnerships. And when we're talking about the food industry, it's not just food manufacturers, it's not just the big PepsiCo, Coca-Colas. We are also talking about food retailers, the restaurant sector, and catering, like Sodexo. We're talking about distributors and suppliers and franchisors who enter into relationships with those large companies, trade associations, the media, and public relations. So we got a lot of players. This was a beautiful, simple, but elegant framework that came out of an Institute of Medicine report about accelerating progress to prevent in obesity prevention in 2012. I'm going to focus my comments particularly on the food and beverage environment, as well as the messaging environment. But I just want to show that the other environments are equally important, that we really need to be operating in each of these 5 environments. And there's lots of really good examples of partnerships and voluntary engagement going on. I'm going to focus on the food and beverage industry engagement because that tends to arouse a little more controversy than some of the other environments. So just so we're all on the same page, I'm defining healthy food environment and active living environment as those that provide economic, policy, and sociocultural conditions and opportunities across sectors and settings that provide Americans with regular access to a healthy diet, as well as opportunities for regular physical activity. Now, this is also very important, and I've been thinking a lot about responsibility versus accountability for a number of years. This was actually all of my PhD work in Melbourne, Australia with Boyd Swinburne. When we think about responsibility, which is how we've really been thinking about obesity prevention, whether it's individual versus collective responsibility, usually it's defined as involving moral judgments to act in an ethically appropriate way. And different groups can actually interpret that in very different ways. If you look at just the example I provided, which is Coca-Cola Enterprises in the UK, they've really constructed their corporate responsibility and sustainability efforts around me, we, and the world. And if you look at me, you've got the active, healthy living in the product portfolio, the well-being, responsible marketing is still me. So we need to have some progress in moving that individual responsibility framing more into how can we get the obesity prevention into the we or the world, like some of those other issues like climate change and charitable contributions. Now, moving over to accountability versus responsibility, they're very much related but distinct concepts. Accountability has 4 elements. It demands a relationship between an actor and a forum. The actor is required to explain or justify one's performance or conduct, and that actor could be an individual, or it could be a business, or it could be an NGO, or a government agency. Third, the forum has power to pass judgment, and fourth, the actor may face rewards if they do the job that they're supposed to, or consequences if they don't. So I'm going to move on now to types of engagement, because when we talk about public-private partnerships, it's usually various actors from different sectors or settings. It could be industry versus NGO, they come together for a partnership, or it could be government, NGO, and industry, various companies together. But the lowest level of interactions and engagement is usually networking. Then you move up the way to coordination, cooperation, and collaboration. And so as you move up to greater forms of exchanging information and activities and sharing resources, you're building trust and you're investing time. So it's very important when you get this engagement, when various business firms or companies or NGOs come together with government agencies, they need to figure out where are they and what would they like to do. Types of voluntary partnerships. This actually came from a wonderful, simple framework that James Austin at Harvard Business School developed, and I find this very useful to think about voluntary engagement and partnerships. There are philanthropic public-private partnerships, where basically the company will say, here's $50,000 to the NGO, do with it what you want. You can use our brand, you don't have to. Very low level of engagement. Versus transactional partnership has medium level of engagement, much more important to each partner's mission. A more resource investment, such as a cause-related marketing arrangement, where a company may say, I've got $2 million, I've got this product I want to sell, and a percentage of that is going to go to this NGO, and you can use it either for discretionary purposes or you can earmark it for obesity prevention work. So that's like a transactional partnership example. And then there's transformative partnerships, and I think that's where we really want to be moving with a lot of our engagement. If you look at Healthy Weight Commitment Foundation and some of the international examples I'll give, like IFPA, International Food and Beverage Alliance, those are much more aspiring to be transformational.